And welcome back. Well, both of our next guests survived situations of domestic violence, and today their passion is to end all forms of partner abuse.
Laverne Badger and Natalie Hayden created Exposed, the podcast. They talk about life after abuse, and we're happy to have them joining us today.
Thanks
Great
for
to see
being here.
both of you ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
We're grateful
Yeah,
to be here.
I appreciate you willing to expose yourselves and say that you are victims, because we've heard before on the show, people are sometimes embarrassed to be victims of domestic violence.
Yeah, there's a sense of shame that comes over you. That's one of the major reasons why people are silent about their abuse, or they don't want to get out, because they're ashamed that they allowed themselves to be victimized in that way. But we're saying we're breaking those curses and those stigmas to say we're not ashamed. It's something that we experienced, and now we want to be able to be as transparent as we can to tell others, to educate them.
Do you have kind of a quick quip on how to get out of a situation like that? What worked for the two of you?
I think the greatest tip and advice that many of our guests and viewers could take is keep sharing. Keep allowing yourself to be transparent with those that you are connected with. And then also look for ideas online. Use the tools such as our cell phones and internet to look up some healthy, safe tips to get out of a situation that could be harmful to you and your family.
Yeah.
And how about you? Was there something for you that kind of allowed you to get out of this situation?
Well, it was 13 years of abuse for me. And so I had 4 children at the time, small children. And that isolation that was created over that 13 years, I had to start engaging back in my family. And for that family support. And that's really important to have that support without judgment, because that hinders you. Again, that's something that hinders you when you think that someone is judging you, that maybe I need to stay, or I'm not going to get the help. But the last straw for me was, it was a cheating incident. Not that it was the first time, but it was just another cheating incident. And I just was like, enough is enough. And I have 3 girls and a boy, a son, and I'm just like, I just didn't want that for them. But I was so lost in myself. I had gone through so many different stages of who I was, because this abuse started when I was a teenager. And so it was depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, suicidal attempts. I went through every range that you can think of, and then I was finally like, I want to survive. And what does that look like? And that's when I started to take baby steps to move forward to get my life back.
Good for you.
Yeah, let's talk about this podcast, because I think clearly what you guys are saying, you're so well versed in speaking, you're so confident in speaking about your stories, and I think that's where anyone who's suffering or going through abuse wants to be. They want to be where you are. So how did this podcast, Exposed, come to be?
Oh my God.
I like to let Laverne tell
it was Natalie and I were doing our own thing. We were
Were you always friends, or how did you guys know?
No, we met through a Voices a committee that is at Sojourner. And so the Voices committee allows for survivors to have, get back their independence and have their voices heard. That's where we met. And so once we met, it was instant. It was instant friendship, an instant connection. We would talk, and we would have the same.
The first thing I said, we have to do a podcast.
She said that. And
It was you.
it was hard, and I'm like, yeah, right, no. It was one thing because I wrote a book about my story, but it was one thing to put it on paper and have people read it and be exposed in that way, but it was another thing to have people hear it from my voice, and Natalie did a wonderful job of convincing me.
It certainly sounds like it. And what's your mission with the podcast?
Our mission is simply life after abuse, and we're really here to talk about education, prevention, and awareness. So our focus simply is our young people at the moment, because there's a disconnect here. We do not understand the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationships, and we want to make sure that we can use ourselves as that example by giving them the information that they need. That's something that we did not have when we were entering into these relationships. So education, prevention, and awareness. That's our young people. That's us.
How about boundaries? You know, because I think so many young people don't understand what healthy boundaries are. That's something I've had to learn in life after experiences, and I feel like it's tough. Boundaries are hard because you don't know what is being selfish and what is protection or is still being open but vulnerable.
Yeah, the boundaries absolutely need to be set. And when we do talk to young people, that's basically one of our topics is boundaries, knowing what those boundaries are. What is safe space for you, what's safe, and what if name calling is out of the picture, don't accept it, the name calling. It's little things like that that you overlook on your boundaries that escalate.
Yes.
So prior to like even your the boundaries within the relationship, there's healthy boundaries within yourself. So we want to identify with ourselves, like what are some boundaries that I need to really consider and look at before I can allow someone else to step in and then hold them to an expectation. If you don't have them, then there is none.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's so important, I think, to talk to teenagers about all this stuff, to start young, because you mentioned your abuse started young, and I know that's part of your goal too, is to reach young people.
Yes.
Right, it's the education piece to prevent. And so teenagers these days have an entire social media at their fingertips. They have other ways that I couldn't even fathom on how to abuse one another.
Yes.
Through social media and bully one another and have unhealthy conversations and have the world view that unhealthy relationship. And so we have to not only teach them how to be responsible on social media, but how that becomes a reflection of you. And how that reflection of you opens the door for others to treat you a
That's
certain
right.
way.
People how to treat you.
Teach
That's
people
right.
how to treat you.
People can learn more about your podcast. We ran out of time, so I want to make sure they've got all the information to hear what you guys have to say. You've got wonderful things to express and teach others. ExposedDVA.com, 2 D's in there. 414-469-4142 if you want to learn more about Exposed, the podcast, or these wonderful ladies. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
for having
having
us.
us.
Sharing your stories.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
really
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.